Please join me in giving a warm, new welcome to Anne-Marie Slaughter.
I do have to start on a slightly less positive note. Feminism has stalled. The numbers of women at the top, particularly in corporate America, but really in leadership positions across the board, certainly also in politics, is stuck at somewhere between 10 and 20%. In a good industry, you're looking at 20%. In a bad industry, often you're looking at 10 or even lower. My students and the young people I work with really cannot imagine that I grew up in a world where I did not know a woman doctor. I knew one woman lawyer. I knew no women judges or politicians or engineers, or certainly not CEOs. So we have stalled, but we've also made a huge amount of progress. We're all looking at what women should or shouldn't do, which still puts the onus on women to advance. That's important. There's a huge amount of things women can do, but my overall point today is that is not enough. So the traditional vision of a career, right, is climbing the ladder. It's getting to the top. Now, Sheryl Sandberg says, and I agree, you can think of it more as a jungle gym than a straight ladder. And I think that's a helpful way to think about it, but you're still imagining that your career starts at the bottom and gets to the top in one organization or in one industry. It's sort of a 1950s view of what careers are. I want to propose that we think instead of careers more like interval training. More like first place, the 22-year-olds in this audience, there probably aren't any 22-year-olds, but your daughters who are 22, have a life expectancy of 86. Now think about that. Even for those of you who are not math geeks, right? Life expectancy is an average. That means a third of those young women are going to live to 100 or older. Now, think about the traditional career idea. So you enter the workforce at 25 and you go till about 65 and you try to get as high as you can. That means you peak somewhere in your late 40s, mid 50s and ride it on out. That's actually nuts if you think you're then going to sit there from 65 to 100. Doing what? Flexible policies of every kind make it much easier for caregivers to juggle their caregiving responsibilities with their breadwinning responsibilities. And there's an enormous array of policies and there's an enormous array of statistics about how companies that have those policies do better in recruiting people and retaining people and productivity, whole raft of it. Flexibility is great in theory. In practice, and you know this, the barrier is the stigma that attaches to taking advantage of those policies. There are a growing number of studies that point out that if you take that the extra time, if you work part-time, if you work from home one day a week, if you take advantage of any of those great policies that we put in place to make it possible to be a breadwinner and a caregiver, you are less likely to be on the leadership track. You are often stigmatized as not committed to your career. And for women in particular, you are marching right into the stereotype that we've been trying to overcome, which is you are going to be more committed to your family than your career. People who show up at work and are just there for the full amount of time and for the full amount of time over the week are in fact typically evaluated better than people who are at home one day or working flexibly, even if their work is objectively better. So flexibility stigma is real, and I just talked about it for women. It's even worse for men. One of the most striking things about the responses to my article were the number of men who wrote me and said, if you think it's hard to be a woman who says, I'm going to take some time out, or I'm going to work part-time, or I'm going to work from home one day a week, try being a guy who says that. not only will you be told that you are not committed to your career, you will basically be told in countless subtle ways, you are not really a guy. My generation of feminists was raised to think that the work that my father did was really important, and the work that my mother did, not so important. And I didn't want to do that work because I wanted to be somebody in society, which meant doing what my dad did. That was the right thing for the 60s and the 70s, right? Women had to break out of a place where they were seen only as homemakers, only as caregivers. They had to actually strive and win on men's terms. But I put to you that we have gotten far enough, look at all of you out there, that it is time to speak for the world that we want. And the world that I want is a world in which caregiving, the work that women have traditionally done, is every bit as important and as valued and as respected in our society as breadwinning. And that overall, if we want to advance as women, but I would say if we want to advance as human beings, we have to value care and competition, breadwinning and caregiving equally, and all of us will advance. Thank you very much.